All right, so detective on Saturday the 14th of March for Natural State Golden Retriever Club. I had a total of 5 hides and I gave 9 minutes. So the start line was literally right here. I had cones there before, but we need to use them elsewhere. So start line was right there. So we had this space right here. And in this space, we had 1 hide, and it was right down in the molding where the black molding, foot kick plate molding met the wall. It was birch and a cardboard straw. Now it actually did carry down the wall some, but it actually hung really, really nice and tight, and it did bleed over a little bit by the bucket here. So it did hold rather tight, and it actually very high success rate on that hide right there. Then the second hide was in this desk, which let me move it back to how it was. This desk was sitting in a position like this with this cabinet next to it. And the hide was on the other side. It was in a tin, and that was actually cypress in a tin. And it was tucked up right underneath in about the middle of that desk on this, towards this corner, right? Tucked up underneath. And that was in a slider tin. It was cypress. It held really, really well. It did bleed a little bit back in here and start to collect a little bit on that equipment that's back there, but it did hold rather tight. The next hide was in a chair right here, and it was on the bottom underneath the chair, and that was actually anise in a shrink wrap tube underneath on the bottom of the chair. And the chair actually was positioned a little bit more over here. It's been moved around. There's been workers down here since I had pulled. So that hide actually did a really nice job at bleeding all the way down to that wall, which was actually the downwind side, because if you notice right over here, there's an opening, and that door was open, and it had a good current pushing towards those double doors there. It did do a nice job channeling along the chain link fence. And at times when the wind would die off, it would kind of collect right here in the middle, which takes me to the next hide, which was anise that was in a cardboard straw tucked up underneath that chair. That hide, a lot of times the dogs would have to get almost all the way, they'd had to get by that gate. But a good bulk of the time when the wind would die down, it would recirculate, kind of push back, and it would kind of collect back along this blue material, which is actually like a vinyl. So it actually held nice and tight. But when it did bleed out, a little bit along the fence here, and eventually they did converge along the back wall back here. All right. So then the last hide in the space was a fun hide, and it was actually clove inside on the waistband of that hoodie that's hanging there. It was in the waistband. It held really, really pretty tight. It did collect on those cardboard boxes some, and it also did push. So if you notice, there's on the backside over here, it did collect a little bit in those fertilizer or grass spreaders, whatever you call them. We had a couple dogs actually hit it and alert from the other side. It did rise up and come out where the hanger is some, and it actually was a really, really fun hide. And it was a lot of handlers had to believe their dogs because they didn't necessarily believe that would be on a shirt. But it held really tight. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the molding hide, 5 hides And the fun part about this is because the wind current was coming through these doors and pushing in here and all circulated and collected right here in the middle by those boxes. So it made for a nice, pretty good converging problem. And then the exterior portion, I made a little bit small because we needed the space to use for master and excellent exterior, and there was no hides outside. Search time was 9 minutes. Success rate was about 33%.